Okay, so this first line over here, this is a comment. So when you see this hashtag over here, it means it's a comment. It's not part of the code, but it's just there to explain what the code does. The second line over here is an input statement. It will ask the user to, for example, over here, it will ask the user to enter the name of an animal. If I was to delete this part and I was to run this code, it will ask me, or it will tell me to enter the name of an animal, which we have put over here. Okay, so you don't put the name of the animal over here. For example, if you're asked to copy this this input statement, you don't write dog here. Okay, because what this will do is when you run this, it will just say dog, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so we will just keep it the way it is. So it will say enter the name of an animal, and then you will enter the name of the animal. So if I go back to this, let's look at these two. Okay, so description, again, this is an input statement again, but this time it's asking us to describe the animal that you've entered. What we've done over here is we've joined the variable with the text over here. Okay, so for example, if I was to run this again, and if I enter an animal, I press enter, it will say describe a dog, because that's what I've written over here. If I was going to do this again and I say cat instead, it will change to a cat. So whatever we enter over here is what's going to come up on this input statement. Okay, and then the next part, print a, whatever the animal that we've entered is, and the description that we've entered. Okay, so this last print statement will concatenate. You will find it under, and then we've got the name of the variable called animal, and then in the square brackets we've got 0, which will take out the first character from the variable animal, the input statement. So for example, if it was a dog, it will take out D, and then just print out D. And nothing else. So we'll just take out the first character. So as you remember, in Python, the index starts from, or the position starts from 0. Therefore, if you write 0 over here, it will print out the first character of the variable, of the string, of the text, and then print it out. Okay, so concatenation, it means joining two items together, and we do this by using the plus sign. So over here we've joined Kumar, which is a string, which is a text, with another text, and then we've joined it with this thing over here, which says str, which is short for string, and then we've got the variable name age over here. So let me show you how this works. So we had age equals 14. This could be anything, and then we are printing out Kumar. Oops, not Umar. Kumar plus and Ahmed are. So we're gonna concatenate. We're going to join Kumar and Ahmed R with str, and then we're going to enter the name of the variable inside the brackets, and then we're going to connect this with years old. Okay, so if I was to run this, it will say Kumar and Ahmed are 14 years old. Okay, now let's see if I didn't have this str, and if I was to run this, it wouldn't work, because what happened here is that in age we have a number, and we are trying to add or join or concatenate the number, or a number, with a text, which doesn't work in Python. Okay, so in order for us to prevent that error from happening or appearing, we need to add str. So what we're doing over here is we're converting this age, which is a number, integer, into a string. And then once this is a string, we can then concatenate with the rest of the string. And if I run this, it will work. Now, as you can see, we have some gap. We don't have any spaces in between R, 14, and years old. So what we can do over here is after R, we can add a space, and then after years, we can add or just before years, we can add a space over here as well. So now it should look fine, and over here as well. Okay, there are some variable rules that you need to follow, otherwise you won't be able to create a variable and it won't work. Is that it needs to start with a letter. Okay, so for example, number could be a variable. Okay, it starts with the letter. Now if we wanted to create a variable that starts with a number, for example, one number, it will not work. So I'm just going to show this to you. One number. Let's print this out. Oh, let's run this. It's not going to work. It will show you a syntax error, which means that there's an issue with the code, the way it's written. Okay, now if I remove this, and I remove the number 1 and run this now, it will work perfectly fine, and it will show me 12. The next rule is that you can only use letters, numbers, and underscores. You can't use any symbols. Okay, so if I wanted to add an underscore like this will be fine. Okay, I'm just going to show this to you, and this will work fine. However, if I had a dash instead of an underscore, it won't work. Okay, or if I had any other symbols instead of a dash, it will not work. Now with the number, if the number is at the end of the variable name, then that will be fine. It will work. Okay, but it can't be at the start of a variable. It is also case sensitive, which means if your variable name is in lowercase and you write number with an uppercase N like this, it's not going to work, because it's not going to identify the fact that we are trying to print out this, and this one, this variable does not even exist. Okay, and lastly, variable names have to be meaningful, meaning it has to match with the contents of the variable. So for example, if this was an age, number would not be suitable, because it doesn't really make sense, and it won't make sense to the programmer as well if someone else was reading it. So age would be an appropriate one if this was about an age, or if we were storing names. Let's say first name, we could write first name equals to Tom. Okay, and if it was surname, we could just write surname equals to John. Okay. Now if there were 2 or more words that you wanted to join, so let's say for example favorite sports, okay, you cannot have, right, let me just show this to you. If I run this, okay, as you can see over here, it's showing me an error. So you cannot have space in between. Okay, now you can either put both words together. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult for the other person to understand, or even if when you come back after a little bit of a break, to understand what this variable was. So what you could do to make it more easier to read, you can make the first letter of the second word in capital letters. So it's favorite sports. It's easy to read. This is called camel case. Or what you could do is you can add an underscore like this to put the words together, and either one of them would work. So this one would work, and also this would work as well. Okay, so the importance of data type. Now, by default, an input statement, which is this, is a string. Okay, so if you enter a number, it will think that that number is not an integer, it's not a float, it's just a normal text. Okay, so if I was to enter a number, and then I wanted to add the numbers together, and run this. So let's say 12. Okay, so what it did over here is it just concatenated, it just joined 12 with another 12, and adding the two numbers together. Now what we could do is we could declare the input statement as an integer. So what I could do is I could just add int to specify that it's an integer. Int means integer. And now when I run this, and if I enter 12, it will, instead of putting 12 and 12 together side by side, it has now added 12 with 12. Okay.